My name is Francisco Loffredi, and I'm a professional spear fisherman. I can be a professional spear fisherman by initially I did commercial spear fishing, so I used to go out and shoot a lot of fish to pay my bills, and that was a professional spear fisherman. Luckily, I left that behind and became an advocate against commercial spearfishing because I don't see it really as being sustainable. It never was, even when I did it. And luckily now I can continue to be a professional spear fisherman, but living more from the sport and the media aspect of my activity. I compete, I do tournaments, World Championship, Pan American. I'm currently in the U.S. team. I'm the captain of the U.S. team and do TV shows, media talks like this. So it's a way to become to maintain my skill as a professional spear fisherman, but not catching so much fish. Does anybody here spearfish or know any spear fishermen? One person? Two? Well, one character, pescador. So there's one characteristic of common to all spear fishermen. We're really obsessed with the sport, addicted, obsessed. And why is that? Uh, People get addicted are big fans of sports. I'm Brazilian, so we're big fans of football. But it's still not the same thing. Spearfishing is not like soccer or a team sport. I mean, you're in nature. You're not competing against anybody. So okay, so you can say it's like maybe mountain climbing or hand gliding, which is true. We're both interacting with nature, but there's still something more to the spearfishing because we're interacting with another animal, and we're pursuing and in a way competing, trying to overcome this superior animal in a hostile environment for us because we're holding our breath. And so, in that sense, I mean, spearfishing is not like mountain climbing and hand gliding. In a way, it's like bullfighting, because like a bullfighter, the spear fisherman is in that hostile environment, putting his life at risk, trying to overcome a much superior animal, and using the body language. We're free diving. So, like the toreador, he uses his body to interact and communicate with the animal, and sometimes win and overcome the animal. Not always, but still, spearfishing is not like bullfighting, even though there are these similarities. And why is that? Why is it so passionate and so driven? So, I mean, if we look at humanity, the human beings on Earth, we've been for most of our time in the cave. We're a caveman. The last 15 minutes, we left the cave, started talking, interacting, writing, and we're here. But we still have these caveman instincts on us that are more present than we usually realize. And one of these instincts or caveman instincts is the hunting instinct. We all have it. Any of us here that never hunted anything, if you're stuck in a deserted island deserted island and you're hungry, your hunting instinct is gonna rise. And also, so when you're spearfishing, we're really, really in touch with a very basic essence of our life, which is the hunting. But we're also holding our breath. We're free diving, and you guys just had a big class on free diving. It's also more than a sport. It's really going to another world. Remember, we started our life holding our breath in a liquid environment. So, in a spearfishing journey, I'm hunting, getting in touch with that recessive instinct that I have. I'm in a liquid environment. That's where my life started. I'm holding my breath. So it's something very impacting on a person's life to be in touch. I mean, modern man is trying to go back to the essence, leave technology. There's nothing more intense. Go back to the essence, being underwater, holding your breath, hunting for survival. But let's say I'm going to define in a simple way being alive as walking around and interacting with beings and interacting with objects. We wake up, beings, objects, and then we go to bed. That's a simple way of seeing life. When I'm in the water, when any of us are in the water, diving, scuba diving, free diving, we're doing the same thing. We dive and we interact with beings and with objects. And I say beings because there are plenty of mammals in the water. It's not only fish. So the same way I can be alive outside of the water, I can be alive in the water. And 2/3 of the planet is water. So we all have an aquatic life. Some are not exploring that aquatic life, and some are. So when I'm in the water, free diving, hunting for my food, hunting for my survival, it's really like having a second life. I have a life on land, and I have a life in the water. And this life in the water, to be able to catch fish, I have to become a fish. I become a marine mammal. And as a marine mammal, I do the things that marine mammals do: hunt, survive, interact. It's a picture going down free diving, holding a gun. When I'm starting my immersion, I'm really starting that second life that I have. Remember, the 2/3 of the planet is water. So, I mean, I can argue that if you're not in the water, you're only living 1/3 of your potential. So, when I'm in the water hunting, I'm being alive. I'm surviving. I'm providing for my family. And I have a life like a normal fish. And kind of to sum up the hunting, the being alive, the struggling for your family, not giving up the fish, I'll share with you guys in a little bit intense spearfishing video, but it might be good to prove my point. This is the biggest school of bull shark ever filmed. I went to get some cobia, and I bumped into this absurd amount of bull sharks right in my little cobia spot. It's a shipwreck, 50 meters deep. First 40 meters is brown murky water. And then in the top 10 meters, there's some visibility. So I kind of have to attract the fish to the surface and be able to catch them. When I got in the water, I mean, until this point, I was expecting one bull shark, maybe two bull sharks. But this unprecedented amount of bull sharks, I didn't expect. And it's not a dive I would recommend and go back to do regularly. This video was shot in the 40 minutes I was in the water until I realized it wasn't going to end bad. It was going to end bad if I didn't leave the water. So you see the big bull sharks surrounding me, coming here from the right. It's always good to make eye contact and don't let them feel comfortable next to you. The cobia is the fish swimming behind the shark. So I land a shot in the cobia. The cobia swims to the bottom to get away from me. But all the sharks, you see the sharks come swimming towards the cobia. So I reach the surface. The cobia actually turns around and swims to my lap for me to protect it from the sharks. It was more afraid of the sharks than me, which made my life easier, but brought all the sharks to the surface. So I needed to call the boat quickly and kind of get it out of the water. It's not a good situation being surrounded by bull sharks holding the fish. The bull sharks do not want to eat me. They see me as an opponent, a competitor for the cobia. I start hitting my bands. We don't have the audio, but this makes a noise that calls the attention of the fish. I was trying to get the fish from the bottom to come towards me. I overdid it, and I was charged by the shark. If you noticed, this was the smallest bull shark in the school. The big bull sharks, they respect me, and they respect me. It's the young one that came after me, like us. It's the teenagers that do stupid stuff, right? So it was a teenage bull shark, and that's something reoccurring. I'm more worried about the young bull sharks than the big ones. So I got one cobia, jumped in my lap. I was kind of feeling lucky. So I went down again and started same thing, hanging out at 10, 12 meters, looking at the murky bottom, waiting for some cool fish to pop up. I'm rubbing my sling gun, and the rubbing sound also kind of attracts the fish. And suddenly I see a mackerel. You can't see it well, but I land a good shot on the head, a kill shot. The mackerel doesn't move, and then the big shark comes to eat it. But you see, the mackerel is still, and the shark doesn't understand that he's still fish, and that was my chance to to bring it up. And I landed the fish. Then I was feeling super lucky and tough. I can do this, no problem. So I went down a third time, and I went down all the way to the murky bottom. I'm just hanging out over the murky bottom. I can't see anything in the bottom, and I'm hoping for a cobia or a mackerel to pop up. Maybe it'll pop up with one shark. Okay, one shark, the cobia, I can handle one shark. So I land a shot, and dude, I opened the gates of hell because all these sharks were right beneath me, just waiting. But you see, in my underwater life, like every fish, I'm fighting for my fish. I'm not going to give up. I didn't give up, but the shark ate it. So when they taste the flesh, it's over. I jump in the boat. You can't hear the audio, but now I go and kiss the gun to make my sponsor happy. And see all the bull sharks, they came to the surface. Once they tasted the flesh, they came to the surface, and nobody could get in the water at that point. You see, these fish were big. Remember the last scene? The bull shark ate a 20-kilo cobia in one bite. So, big fish. So, just to say, I mean, Jesus Francisco, why don't you just go to Whole Foods and buy cobia fillet? You know? But once you're in the water, that's my life. I'm an aquatic mammal, and I fight for my fish. I'm defending my family. I'm defending my existence and my underwater life. And I love to eat cobia. Yeah, well, it's another same place. One of my favorite fish, the grouper, and I didn't give up. I took the head home and I made a stew. That's all the sharks left for me. So I want to eat cobia. The best way for me to get the cobia for my consumption is to fish it myself. It's the best way for me, and it's the best way for the environment, because the other alternative I have is to go buy it in a market. And I don't know how that fish was harvested, how much bycatch was used during this process. And that's where what I kind of do starts approaching the environmentalism. And the material you guys received that said Francisco, spearfisher and an environmentalist. I mean, a lot of people don't see how these two things can go along, and hopefully that's what I will share now. We have the technology to kill all the fish in the ocean. Okay, so it's just a matter of time. If we're going to catch everything, and it's a matter of our will to really achieve that. And the final word is from the consumers. You know, as long as people are consuming fish and don't know how this fish is harvested, we're going to one direction. The biggest example is the tuna. I'll share this later. So, I mean, the biggest problem for overfishing is the illegal fishing. There are tons of illegal fishing going on. And how can we effectively stop the overfishing? In my traveling, I've been, my first spearfishing competition was in '89. So I've been around all over the world. And the protected areas that we have in the world, the ones that I've seen, always are hit by commercial illegal fishing. I haven't seen a marine protected area, even in first world, like in the US or in Australia, that have the greatest marine parks surveilled and protected. The illegal fishing always gets around, always finds a way. The only way that really stop the only way to stop this illegal fishing is sport fishing. Sport fishing can take pressure out of the illegal fishing. Sport fishing will surveil an area better than any government can do. And what I'm saying is not a theory or an idea. It's, at the end of the day, what really works. There are plenty of examples. I'll start with Miami. Miami has one boat for every 4 male adults. That's thousands of people fishing every day in Miami. Thousands of people. And it's still full of fish because it's super regulated. All these people fishing, they pay taxes. The taxes put patrol boats in the water. They make tough regulations, and the fish are there. I've been to isolated points in the Pacific or in South America that, I mean, far from land, far from anybody. And these places have no fish. They've been devastated by commercial fishermen that reach that spot. And there's no surveillance, and they catch all they want. If this protected area that I just mentioned was let's say, a sport fishing park or open to sport fishermen, the sport fishermen would surveil, will be present, and will keep away the commercial fishing. To give an example, I mean, the protected areas, the marine, the surveillance boat, they never go out when it's rainy, when it's cold, at early morning. When I was a kid, there's a big oil rig next to my house in Rio. It's forbidden to fish there for obvious reasons. And that's the only place I wanted to fish because it was full of fish, and I couldn't go there because it's super surveilled. So I started skipping New Year's Eve party. I would go to bed New Year's Eve to wake up early, January 1st, and I would go spearfish in the oil rig because I knew January 1st there wouldn't be any guards guarding. Just to give an example how it doesn't work. If this oil rig was open to sport fishermen, like myself, there would be a bunch of eager sport fishermen going there January 1st, and that would keep the illegal fishing away. A good example is Block Island in New York next to Montauk. You guys might know. The most expensive fish in the east coast of the U.S. is a striped bass. It's even more expensive than the swordfish. So the striped bass used to be abundant. It costs $33, $35 a pound at the Quincy Market in Chelsea, Chelsea Market in New York and Manhattan. So by the early 90s, these fish were completely overfished. It was super hard to find any big striped bass or even small one. They were not extinct, but they weren't there anymore. So the wildlife agency closed the fishing, hoping for the comeback. But there was no comeback. The striped bass didn't react to that, making the fishing, stopping the commercial fishing. Why? Because there were still tons of illegal fishing going on. And it's a huge area. Nobody could control that. So in the late 90s, early 2000s, they started opening this area for sport fishing. Nowadays, 15 years later, almost 20 years later, the Block Island is full of striped bass. Full of striped bass. Big striped bass. These guys. Why? Because it became a huge industry. People travel from all over the world to sport fish striped bass. Each person can get 2 striped bass per day. Before, this guy that took me this day, he was the #1 commercial spearfisherman of striped bass. He used to shoot 20 to 30 striped bass per day during a 4-month season. Now he takes tourists. And like him, there are a bunch of tourist boats, there are a bunch of hotels and plane tickets, and there's this huge industry to take people to fish striped bass. And the striped bass are all over the place. The striped bass industry grew so much in the last few years that actually the population started to decrease. So what happened? They made the rules tougher. Now you can only get 1 striped bass per person per day. It used to be 2. So just to say that even when the sport fishing is poorly planned or something goes wrong and it starts overfishing like it happened here in the striped bass, we can still adjust it. If a fish population is being decreased by overfishing, we can't adjust it. We can't say, hey, illegal fishermen, let's cut down to 2. So at the end of the day, this is what works. This is the bluefin tuna. Everybody wants bluefin tuna. They want to eat it. They want to swim with it. It's a 400-kilo fish. And I was able to kind of become friend and tag a ride. And this is also something unprecedented. You can see these beautiful animals. They're the size of a refrigerator. And this is in Malta, not far from here. This footage was shot like a year ago. See these beautiful, strong fish? They're all dead now. They're all netted. And this one net was worth multi-millions of dollars, and they went all to the Japanese restaurants. So I wanted to finish my presentation showing this video to say, you know, the bad guy is not the sport fisherman taking a fish home to eat. And sometimes it's the people that don't even fish. You know, I went to a marine park managers convention, and I ended up on stage. Not that they wanted me on stage; they don't like me very much. But I got on stage. They had a slot for the yacht club person, so I went there on stage. Hostile crowd, everybody kind of against what I did. So I just grabbed the microphone and said, "Do you guys agree with me that all fish can be caught legally or illegally?" Kind of in a grumpy way, they kind of agreed with me. So you guys agree with me that all fish can be caught legally or illegally? And the grumpy crowd agreed with me. So please raise your hand here, I ask them. Who here can say that they only eat fish caught legally and sustainably? And I was the only one that could raise my hand. In the whole auditorium with the 300 marine park managers and assistant marine park managers. So, I mean, who's the problem? Is it me catching one fish and taking it home and not buying fish in the market and catching my cobia with no bycatch? Or is it all these people criticizing me that have no clue where the fish they ate come from? Fish that they eat come from. So the message I want to leave is take a second look at sport fishing. Check out what works in the world today and figure out where the fish are eating comes from. How is it catched? Is there bycatch? Thank you.